Just Baseball Show is live, and we got to talk about a trade, and a decently big trade that went down. Sonny Gray is a Boston Red Sox, and that kind of fires me up. Is he making $41 million this coming year? Yes. Is it all coming from the Boston Red Sox? No. We're going to talk about that, break it down. Jack McMullen, Peter Apple, Just Baseball Show. We'll tell you who it's presented by in a moment. But after the Sonny Gray trade conversation, we have a Thanksgiving / smorgasbord themed 3, 2, 1
Mailbag.
Here we go. It sounds better on StreamYard as opposed to Zoom. We recently made a switch to StreamYard full time, and I kind of freaking love it. You can get both. But Peter, mailbag and Sonny Gray breakdown, both on the Just Baseball Show, which is presented by
Loaded show presented by the sportsbook born in Vegas, and that is BetMGM. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JustBaseball. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. And this week, BetMGM has a ton of promos for you to go take advantage. This Thanksgiving, BetMGM is piling your plate high with extra winnings. Players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. Just add a parlay of any sport to your bet slip. We got football, college basketball, so many things going on this weekend. Activate the token, and if you win, you'll enjoy boosted payouts. And again, if you haven't signed up yet, use bonus code JustBaseball for up to a $1,500 first player offer on your first wager. BetMGM, make it legendary. Have you noticed the mustache?
You're trying something new. You have been a beard guy for a minute, and you decided to go naked mole rat on the sides of your face and only leave the mustache. Now, whenever I do that, I get vitriol shot my way from my fiance, from my mom, and really anybody that feels like they have the right to an opinion on what I do with my facial hair. And those are really the two people that have a right to an opinion. I'd say my fiance above my mom. They both hate it, so it lasts like 5 days. It's nice when I do like the end of season vacation for a week. I'll usually go mustache. You know what? I'm going through a phase, and then I get rid of it. Is this a phase, or are you committing to this full bore?
It could be either. I'm not sold yet on either. It could be a phase, or it could be something I commit to full bore. The one thing is, my fiance said I should try it. And I have never really even considered a mustache because, I don't know, it just was never something that I was motivated to start. And then she says, I'd like to see what it looks like. I shave my face, keep the mustache, and she says, I love it. And just like you, one of the only opinions that matters when it comes to my facial hair is her. So if she likes it, I'm rocking with it. And I don't mind it either. I think I'm kind of pulling it off here. I don't know what our audience thinks. We're live here on YouTube. Thanks to everybody who's joining. And I'm sure for everybody that is joining, this is not the topic that they thought we'd start with. But sometimes when you get a mustache, it's big news. Not quite as big as Sonny Gray, but it's in the same conversation.
It is adjacent to Sonny Gray. I would say if Sonny Gray was a 10 on the 1 to 10 scale, and it's not a 10. Like, okay, you know what? 1 to 10 scale, Sonny Gray is a 7.4. I think Peter Mustache is like a 7.1, so it's in the same ballpark.
It's at least over a 7.
Yeah, I would think so. Let's talk about that 7.4. Let's talk about Sonny Gray here, because Sonny Gray is headed, mustachioed Peter Apple, to the Boston Red Sox. And this was a bit of a surprising deal. The timing, I think, was surprising. Before the winter meetings, it really came out of nowhere. We haven't seen the free agent pitching market start to fall into place. We haven't had the first domino drop. The only domino that we've really seen drop is Phil Maton going to the Cubs on a 2-year deal.
Which is huge.
It is massive. And the Cubs, huge upgrade. You could probably be done with your offseason at this point.
Yeah, it's over. Good job.
It's done. Good job, Jed. Good job, everybody. Sonny Gray is going to the Boston Red Sox in a trade that sends Richard Fitz and Brandon Clark to St. Louis. How do you get an intriguing pitching prospect like Brandon Clark, and how do you get a young pitcher with a ton of control in Richard Fitz back for Sonny Gray, who's due about $60 million? Well, number one, you rework the contract. So instead of $35 million this year and a $30 million club option, it's effectively a $31 million deal this year and a $35 million mutual option that comes with a $10 million buyout. The odds of a mutual option being picked up are slim to none. So it's effectively 1 year for $41 million.
Yes.
Do you get two decent young pitchers, one of which a good prospect, for $41 million of a 35, 36-year-old pitcher? No, you don't. So what does St. Louis need to add to get a prospect return? They need to add $20 million. So the Red Sox effectively just took on Sonny Gray for 1 year and $21 million in exchange for Richard Fitz and Brandon Clark. And that is the trade. Knee-jerk reaction, what was it?
Knee-jerk reaction was remembering when we were going over a lot of these trade candidates and potential free agents that, were going to be signed, realizing that, wait, Sonny Gray is a lot more expensive than I thought he was, because realizing that this contract is backloaded and for the Cardinals to trade him, they're not really going to get much, even though I'm a big fan of Sonny Gray. So that's why when the Red Sox got him, I thought to myself, I wonder if the Red Sox are going to take on all of his contract in order to basically give up nothing. And I think it's a good addition. Like, if I was a team, if I was a fan base, I would be interested in bringing in Sonny Gray to my team. Now, I understand on the surface, you see a 4.28 ERA and you kind of wince a little bit. Yeah. We're paying that much money for a guy with a 4.28 ERA and he's 36 years old. What are we doing? But if you look under the hood, underlying metrics thought he got really unlucky this year. Sierra, which is Skill Interactive ERA, which you can find on Fangraphs. It's a very fancy ERA predictor. I understand. I know you don't like, it doesn't even have a little X in it.
No, Sierra has no lowercase letters, so I'm actually on board with it.
Sierra, he was 7th in Sierra in Major League Baseball among all qualified pitchers. And a big reason why is he strikes out the world and he limits the walks.
Yeah.
Our brilliant Twitter team tweeted out this graphic.
Our Twitter team tweeted out. That's great. I'll add that to my list of tongue twisters.
I would too. That he is one of 3 pitchers of the last 2 seasons with 400 plus strikeouts and 80 walks or fewer, joining Tarek Skubal and Garrett Crochet. So you can understand why underlying metrics say some of the batted balls might get caught some seasons, might not, that he might have been a little bit unlucky. So what I believe the Red Sox are bringing in is a solid number 2. I don't think he's Joe Ryan. I don't think he's Freddie Peralta. I don't even think he's Mackenzie Gore, but he's a really solid pitcher who can eat a ton of innings at the front of the rotation. And what it also made me think, and I know Red Sox fans want to disagree with this because they want to be optimistic, and I understand. I'd be happy to be wrong here. I think this is their number 2. I really do. My guess is, and again, I'm just speculating, they checked it on Joe Ryan. Whoa, that price is expensive. Yeah. We just sent a bunch of prospects over for Garrett Crochet. Do we want to do that again? Maybe it was just too expensive. They probably checked in with the Nationals and said, whoa, Mackenzie Gore is a lot. So what do? Well, we're willing to take on a little bit more money. $21 million, that's perfectly fine. That's basically the cost of a qualifying offer. And all we have to do is give up some Dick Fitz, who's a back-end rotation starter, I think at best. He's 25 years old. You never know what the Cardinals could do with him. And Clark, who I don't know a ton about, right? I even texted, I was like, I've never really heard of that guy. Texted Arm, he said he's right outside the top 10 Red Sox prospects on his list. Other publications have him a little bit higher, 60 strikeouts in 38 innings. So on the Cardinals side, I think they did well here. Yeah, you had to eat $20 million, but you got 2 pitching prospects in return. One of them with some good upside, one of them with a relatively high floor. And you get off of that Sonny Gray contract. With the Red Sox, you're kind of trading from a surplus, right? The Red Sox have tons of pitchers at this point. You look at their current rotation. I think Patrick Sandoval's their 8 right now. So they have pitching to give up in order to elevate, their current rotation in that top 5. And I think Sonny Gray is a very solid pitcher, right? He's not those top end guys, but I think Red Sox fans will be really happy when next year he throws 175 innings to a 3.6 ERA with a good amount of strikeouts, and he's not allowing free passes. I thought it was a win-win for both sides.
So my knee jerk, and as I sit here and talk about it 4 hours after it went down, I thought this was an excellent grab by Boston. This is a tremendous fit for them. And to your point about Mackenzie Gore and Joe Ryan, the prospect capital that you would have to give up, Joe Ryan was probably going to command one of those bats that you think is like somewhat untouchable.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like Roman. Roman's not going anywhere, obviously. I'm not talking Marcelo Meyer even.
I
I'm
wouldn't
talking
trade
guys
Roman.
like,
I wouldn't trade Roman for
oh yeah, no.
anything. Unless
brother,
Skeens is
Roman
on
was
the
going
table,
nowhere.
Unless Skeens is on the table, I'm not trading Roman.
No.
Yeah.
So like it's funny because we were talking about frontline guys that the Red Sox were looking to acquire last year, and we were thinking that it would take one of Roman, Meyer, or Campbell. That clearly was never going to happen. And if you were pursuing Joe Ryan, you were probably looking at the equivalent to that in terms of like blue chip prospect that you're moving off of. Brandon Clark was not a blue chip prospect. It's not like you're moving Peyton Tolley or Connolly early in a Joe Ryan deal right now. Those guys are still in the fold. So you move Fitz, who was phased out pretty much entirely this year, who's 10 starts at a 5. And then Clark, who does he make it as a setup guy in 3 years? Maybe. I don't know. It's okay. If Brandon Clark blossoms into a really stuffy reliever, that's okay. You take that L. You wear that.
Yeah.
You got Sonny Gray. You get I think, frontline starter and a bona fide high level 2. I'm not going to sit here and say that Sonny Gray's a better pitcher than Joe Ryan and Mackenzie Gore right now. I do think he's better than Mackenzie Gore. Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray is a serious toss-up. I think Joe Ryan is probably better. You're shaking your head. You think Gore is a better pitcher than Sonny Gray?
I would rather have Gore with years of control.
I'd rather have Gore give the contract situation, but in 2026, who do you think turns in the better season?
Gore.
I would love
Mackenzie
to agree with
Gore, and I don't care who knows it. I love him. I think
he's
downright phenomenal. Did you see his first half? This was a bona fide ace in the first half. And then
you're talking to the president of the fan club. You're the new vice president of the Mackenzie Gore fan club.
No, I think I'm the president now. If you think Sonny Gray is better than Mackenzie Gore, I'm the president.
You're lauding Mackenzie Gore's first half when Sonny Gray in the first half this year had a 3.36 ERA and a 3.01 FIP, and then after the break had a 5.3 ERA. That's kind of the Mackenzie Gore route, and it's what he's done over the last few years. So I look at Sonny Gray and I say, okay, you're probably safer. We didn't have to give up too much like we would have certainly for Joe Ryan, probably for Mackenzie Gore. And then I don't know, man. Like, I do think Sonny Gray, there's a sense of reliability there that you're just not getting from those other two guys. And you laid it out, like in 23, 184 innings, a Cy Young runner-up. In 24, 166 innings. And in 2025, 180 innings. You know you're getting a guy to work off of Garrett Crochet all the time. And that's really important. Are they done? Probably. Would I be shocked if they weren't? I don't think so. I think they can still go add a semi-intriguing rotational piece, but then you run into a situation where Early and Tolley are not starting every 5th day. And that gives me the skeeves a little bit.
We have to remember, and I just applauded the Red Sox. I think this is a good move. I want to get that out in the open.
Yeah.
But now I'm also going to remind people what I continue to say about the Red Sox. They operate like a mid-market team. They trade their stars. They don't sign big-time free agents. They signed Alex Bregman, and a big market team would try to retain him, but it seems like he's going to be gone. The Red Sox are operating in the trade market, which is fine, and you can still form a good team, but they clearly don't want to spend money. So I think it probably takes them out of giving these pitchers a long-term deal, especially with the impending lockout. And then on top of it, they just traded for a starter. Are they going to trade for another starter? I don't think so, because I think the reason they traded for Sonny Gray is they thought the price was too expensive for Joe Ryan. too expensive for Mackenzie Gore and likely too expensive for Freddie Peralta. I would assume that Craig Breslow surveyed the market and landed on the best deal for the Red Sox at this current moment is bringing in a reliable starter, like we just said, on Sonny Gray, who fills that number 2 role. And it also buys them some time to find their true number 2. Because after this year, Sonny Gray is going to be gone. You have the lockout coming out. Then you can kind of sit back and formulate a better plan moving forward. But for this season, if I'm the Red Sox and I have Crochet as my 1, Gray as my 2, Bayo as my 3, and a combination of Connolly Early and Peyton Tolley, maybe one of them is good, one of them is not, but you still have Cutter Crawford, you still have Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah.
That's enough to form a rotation. Yeah. So to me, I know Red Sox fans want to go get more. I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong because that means they're really going for it. But looking at all the past moves, it's hard for me to say that, oh, yeah, the Red Sox are going to be huge players in this market.
So, counterpoint, they are very confident in their ability to help develop pitchers at the big league level, further development, optimize an arsenal. They're very, very confident and comfortable in improving big leaguers. So the only way I could see them spending is like if they wanted to take on Michael King on a high AAV 1+1. That's the only kind of guy. I don't think they're going to do that. To your point, I think they're perfectly fine with that opening day 5 and God forbid injury strikes and you have Pat Sandoval popping in there. But if they were to attack the pitching market further, I feel like they almost backfill if it's not Michael King. So Michael King on a very steep 1+1, or it's like Jose Quintana on a 1-year deal to get another lefty in the door and you feel good about it. So I don't think that they're going to add any more to the rotation, but that is, I guess, the counterpoint. But in terms of where they go from here, I think it's spend on a bat if they do spend on a bat. But you're right. They have operated like a mid-market team. A couple of nuggets on Sonny Gray real quick. I love this. This is the Red Sox committing to their bit. 5 pitchers in Major League Baseball last year threw 400 sweepers with a whiff rate of 40% or higher. That comes from J. Hay Kid on X. 2 of the 5, Garrett Crochet and Sonny Gray. I was looking at 500 or more sweepers thrown and a whiff rate over 40%. It's Gavin Williams, Jesus Luzardo, Sonny Gray, and Garrett Crochet. That's it. So they love sweepers, and they have a lefty sweeper and a righty sweeper at the top of their rotation.
Yeah.
An interesting one that'll make Peter Apple very, very happy. This also from J. Hay Kid. Highest career ERA at Yankee Stadium. You see this one? Minimum 100 innings. David Price has a 5.11. Jabba Chamberlain is a 5.19. Marcus Stroman is a 5.83. And Sonny Gray has a 6.06 ERA. That is the highest career ERA at Yankee Stadium. Minimum 100 innings of work there.
Yeah, as a Yankee fan, as much as I want to pile on that one, I don't think it had to do with Sonny Gray just can't handle New York. There were a lot of stories that came out that the Yankees pitching coach and their staff were fooling with his mix. Sonny Gray, did not really like it. He wasn't able to throw some of his best pitches. And then we saw him immediately go to St. Louis, and perform. I don't think that he's just afraid of the moment at 36 years old and you get him in Yankee Stadium and it's an automatic Yankee win. I almost think the opposite, that Sonny Gray is going to take out some of his anger on the Yankees and could give us real trouble. So as much as I want to buy into that one, I do. I want to shout from the rooftops, he can't handle New York. We're going to crush him. I just don't believe that in my soul. I really don't.
He and Larry Rothschild, it seems like, were oil and water, and they just didn't get on very well whatsoever. And there's a reason that neither of them are still involved with the New York Yankees organization.
I think some players can handle New York. I think Sonny Gray was not one of those players. I think it had to do with other things when it comes to a pitch usage thing and they just didn't come together. Like I to put it simply.
It makes sense. You ready for a mailbag?
Really ready.
Time to start our mailbag. And we're going to start with our Discord questions. And then we're going to go to questions on Twitter. And then we're going to go to questions on Instagram. And our first Discord question. What do you got?
real quick before you start the Discord questions, again, if you all want to join our Discord, it is the best baseball group chat in the world for all these mailbag episodes through the off season.
Yeah.
A lot of them are going to come from our Discord, but also in our Discord, if you ever have questions for any of us, we'll be in there answering them live. So these, again, are asked from our Discord, but if you want to be in the best baseball group chat in the world, we'll be answering all of your questions, and as will the entire Just Baseball staff. And we have so many smart baseball minds that are just answering other people's questions. And I go and see, oh, was that the right answer? Yeah, it was. Like, these people are really, really smart. It's a great environment. You get all of my picks as well. And to join, it's less than a price of a sandwich, just $10 a month. You can find the link in the episode description if you want to dive even deeper into these mailbags, of course.
And you can get me laughing like Regal Lager has me laughing in the Discord when he asks us this question: how come they're called free agents when they cost money? That's a great question. I have no idea. I guess because there's nothing attached to the return outside of I give you money, you play for my baseball team.
Which we call them money boys.
I think so. Yeah. I like money boys. Cash boys? Should we go
Cash
cash boys?
I like either. We can call them either. But yeah, I understand that was kind of a funny joke. Good job, Regal.
I did like that. Okay. Our first one has to do with Tatsuya Imai. Tatsuya Imai, I really like now because he is clearly incredibly media savvy. This one is from Lil DJ227. Tatsuya Imai has done a couple of interviews where he has said things like, I want to beat Yamamoto. I want to, be compared to him, but I want to exceed what he does stateside. I don't want to play with other Japanese players. I want to learn an organization by myself. I want to beat the Dodgers, things like that. So Lil DJ asked, with Imai coming out and saying he doesn't want to sign to a team with other Japanese players and more importantly wants to beat the Dodgers, who do you think now stands the best chance at signing him to a deal? There were a couple of teams that immediately jumped to mind for me. Toronto is interesting. Other ones to watch out for, Arizona and Atlanta are two that could be interesting, but there's one slam dunk. Do you have a slam dunk in mind that isn't one of those three?
Yes. I actually have two that I think are the two favorites that you haven't even mentioned yet.
So favorite number one, runaway train, should be the San Francisco Giants.
Yes. Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, as soon as he says that, Giants fans' ears had to perk up a little bit. Oh, you want to go beat the Dodgers? We don't have any Japanese players. We're building something here to go after them, and we want you to be a part of it. It's a very easy pitch for new GM Buster Posey to say, come on over here. Let's go beat those Giants, except they're the Dodgers, but they're the Giants of the baseball world. Number two, to me, is the Yankees. And I totally understand with the Blue Jays as well, because it's a similar pitch for the both of them. They don't really have any Japanese players. And the last two World Series losses have been the Yankees and the Blue Jays. So those pitches can be, we need you to get over the hump. We've proven that we can get here, and you're the missing piece. Come here and be the star of our team. The Blue Jays, to me, why they rank number three, even though the Yankees and the Blue Jays have a very similar pitch, is just because I don't think the Blue Jays need him that much. I don't think they need to go spend $150 million on a pitcher, and that's a testament to them. Because I look at their rotation and I see Gausman, I see Savage, I see Barrios, and I see Bieber. And I think to myself, that's a really good four. All we need is to backload it with a five. And they already have their backload option in Eric Lauer, who last season during the regular season was one of the sneakiest, best left-handers in baseball, was incredibly efficient. And even in that Dodgers series, got them through the later innings. I would think to myself, yeah, he's earned the fifth starter role. And if I'm thinking about the Blue Jays, I can't get Kyle Tucker out of my head for them.
Yeah.
So that's just where I think they're going. So that's why I have the Giants as the number one option and as the Yankees at number two.
So the Yankees is an interesting one. I like the idea of East Coast for him, but San Francisco has taken so many home run swings over the last few years, and this feels like the guy that they can secure. And with what they're doing as of late, like that Devers deal was a huge move for Buster Posey to make. And I thought that was a league-wide signal that they're not messing around anymore, and they want to put themselves in positions to make noise. They have work to do. It's probably 2 starters as opposed to just one in Imai, and Imai is going to be the price of 2 starters. He's probably going to be in the 120 to 150 range if I had to guess.
That'd be my guess too.
Like Tanaka got what, 7 for 155? I could see Imai wanting 7 for 155.
Yeah, it's different because I think Tanaka was a better quote unquote prospect, just a guy coming over from the MPB.
But it was also
exactly.
12 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. So the market is initially involved. So I would use that as kind of this is what I'm looking for. I'm not quite Masahiro Tanaka, but it's 12 years later and I'm still pretty damn good, right? I think what's separating him between becoming an potentially elite pitcher is the command, because he's got 4 above average pitches. He's got that low slot fastball, get that ride up in the zone. But if you're walking 3.5 to 4 per 9, you're probably going to be a pitcher that a team feels comfortable giving you the ball in game 3 of a playoff series, versus if he's able to command within the zone and limit those walks, he's a guy who can hand the ball very comfortably in a game 2. And I think it'll range anywhere between there. And if it really goes poorly, I still think he's a really solid number 4. So I think you're getting a pretty damn good pitcher with a good amount of upside.
Yeah. San Francisco needs probably 2 arms. Imai, for the sake of round numbers, let's say costs you $150 million.
Sure.
There are other arms that they can take a shot on that are outside the Cease, Fromber, Gallen range, even outside the Michael King range, that are intriguing enough for me. They also need some bullpen help. And why can't they go sign like a Robert Suarez? Why can't they go sign a Pete Fairbanks? These guys should be on the table for the San Francisco Giants. But when you look at that offense as currently constructed, there aren't too many holes to poke. There are some positions that you could upgrade, but with Eldridge coming and being in the fold full time, there's a lot to really like in San Francisco, and they're building towards that. And Imai would be a huge step towards achieving that. So I'm a big fan of what they could do with Tatsuya Imai. So
me too.
San Francisco is where I settled. Yeah. Next one.
San Francisco is my number 1, and I think if they don't get him, the Yankees should be number 2.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, another Discord question. This next Discord question comes to us from jscotch_2. With the talk always being about what relievers should make the jump to starters, Ryan Helsley, what about the other way around? What starters should move to the pen? Some recent examples, Adrian Morejon and Brad Keller. Morejon was a starter in the minor leagues. Keller was a starter that really struggled with the Royals and the White Sox and then found it as a closer effectively for the Chicago Cubs. I had some answers here. I know you didn't love this question. Do you have some guys in mind, or do you want me to throw you mine?
I just had one, and it might be a guy that, because I just think this is this question is, which pitchers have 2 or 3 pitches in their arsenal that have been inconsistent that it would make a little bit more sense for them to move to the bullpen? Because I think we're looking at some starters in Major League Baseball, right? They might flame out or something, and then they become good relievers. It is kind of random. And I don't love coming out and saying, this guy is meant for the bullpen.
Yeah.
But if I had to answer this question, it would be Luis Gil of the Yankees.
Yeah.
Because I think Gil came out and won Rookie of the Year. And his stuff looked great. He was able to limit the walks enough, and a lot of his pitches just had incredible bite to them. He was nasty. But last year, the walks started to surface more. The strikeout rate started to fall. And as he got later in games, the stuff got less and less consistent. So what do you do with a pitcher like that? Put him in 1-inning spurts, get that fastball up into 100 miles an hour and let it sit there, and let him refine his pitch mix. He doesn't need to throw 4 or 5 pitches. All he needs to go is 2 or 3 pitches. But we've talked about it before, the Luis Gil reliever prophecy. So that's the only one that really stuck with me. But I'm interested in hearing, some of the names that you brought up.
So it's funny. I just saw one of these come through on the YouTube comments. He's too young, but the thought crossed my mind. Kumar Rocker of the Texas Rangers.
I ain't moving him to the bullpen.
He's too young, but I will tell you, The thought crossed my mind because the slider is one of the weirdest and frankly best in baseball when you just look metrically what
Oh,
he
yeah.
can do with that slider. And the sinker is a ground ball demon. Average launch angle against his sinker over his first 2 years is about -6 degrees. So he's getting ground balls at will on the sinker, and the slider is really good. It's a really bad four-seam fastball. And the rest of his arsenal isn't really coming into form the way you need a mid-rotation big leaguer to look. So if he's a two-pitch guy, again, it's way too early. Kumar Rocker could be a candidate in a year. He could be a candidate in 2 years. I have no idea. Another one that's intriguing, how about this from our YouTube comments as well? Bobby Miller of the LA Dodgers. Clearly, it hasn't worked as a starting pitcher in the big leagues since his first year, but it looked so darn good. I didn't have him written down. I had a couple of guys written down. I'm sort of kind of done with the whole Matthew Liberatore wants to be a starting pitcher thing. Matthew Liberatore in his career in St. Louis has a 3.9 ERA as a reliever and a 4.9 ERA as a starter. He's just better as a reliever than he is a starting pitcher. And he always tuckers out in the fifth or sixth inning if he gets there. But it's almost always the fifth inning where it just looks like he's getting tired and he starts to get beat up. Matthew Liberatore should be a relief pitcher moving forward. A couple other guys that jump out here. Lance McCullers, with how long he's been out, I know he tried making some starts. Why can't he just spin curveballs for an inning and get out of there? The other one, and you're going to hate it with the contract, and you're also going to hate it because he has a career 3 ERA and he's done nothing but start games. Senga. Kodai Senga should be a reliever.
Yeah, the Mets' perspective on Senga is scaring me. Extremely available.
Guy has
very
an ERA
willing
of
to chop
3 exactly in his career.
And I think to myself, it's like those problems that have risen in the rotation, are they just going to continue to be there in the bullpen? Like if he can't throw strikes and he's bouncing and he's not even close with some of these pitches, is he getting trusted to pitch at all? But I understand, to answer this question, among the guys to choose from, yeah, I think a move to the bullpen could be good for Senga. Stearns scared me. Like the Mets rhetoric about Senga this offseason, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
There are a couple of ways to take in the Kodai Senga experience. Senga experience number one is looking at the baseball reference page and loving what you see. Oh, this guy had a 2.98 ERA his rookie year. He was amazing. He was top 3 in rookie of the year voting.
But then you watch him, he's unpitchable.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's got a 3 ERA as well, and it's a career 3 ERA. The other way to take Senga in, is by going to Citi Field and watching it and throwing up in your mouth a little bit because he's not throwing strikes. And there are some pitches that just disappear over the course of a given day.
Not even close. I mean, he's missing targets by 4 feet. It's like, what? What happened?
Yeah, I know. So honestly, I see a world where Senga can ghost fork his way through an 8th inning. And it's okay if he sprays a little bit because even if he walks 2, he's probably ticking up to 97 or 98 miles an hour, and working 98 with a ghost fork sounds like a really good 8th inning, and you're stranding 2 guys, worst case scenario. So that's why Senga jumped out to me.
Yeah, I like it. And it's almost like we're talking about like, oh, which failed starters could make it,
Yeah. One more guy. How much did you enjoy watching Chad Patrick work out of the bullpen in the postseason?
I enjoyed that. But I just think he's a good pitcher. Like, I think he's a good pitcher. I think he could start. I think he could be in the bullpen. I wouldn't just designate him there because in the regular season, I mean, he put up a higher F-WAR than Cade Horton did. And it's in large part because of the innings, but he's proven he can eat innings. It's not an elite collection of pitches, but he just knows how to move around guys. That's what I would prefer in more of a 5 and dive, even 6 inning kind of spurts, rather than let's tick all of this up in the bullpen. Like with Luis Heel, he's got, for whatever reason, I said 4 to 5 pitches. In my brain, I was already thinking about how to improve Luis Heel, that he needs more pitches. But what he can do is he's fastball, slider, and changeup, and he can narrow those into potentially just a fastball and slider, or maybe make that changeup a little bit better and get that into the bullpen at higher velocities. Where Patrick, I just feel like he's too good of a pitcher, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw 94 tick up to 97, and I got really
Yeah.
excited about what could be, and
I
clearly
think
the fastball was taking off a little bit more.
I get why you say that. I think he's just a good pitcher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think he can start.
Totally fair. All right, next question. We've got another Discord question. This comes to us from SMH in Discord. With Stowers and the Marlins not coming together on a pre-arb deal, who are some young guys that you could see getting a pre-arb deal before the start of next season? That was an interesting deal. I saw it all reported. See, I've got no information, but I saw it all reported that Stowers wanted closer to 100, and it seemed like the Marlins wanted to be at around 50. I'm going to stay out of those waters entirely, obviously. But that got my brain churning on who could be good pre-arb extensions, whether they're $200 million or they're $50 million for their respective teams. I jotted down a couple of names here, and I put them in 3 different buckets. One of my buckets has only one name in it. Drake Baldwin just getting an Atlanta Braves deal.
Yep, that was my number 1 name. Lock him up.
There we go.
We're both so sold on the bat. He's going to hit forever, and I think he's only going to improve defensively, and you can make Murphy expendable. This is your catcher of the future. I'm locking you up. Absolutely. Because this is not a guy who just kind of burst onto the scene. This has been and correct me if I'm wrong, it's really just from listening to the call-up and listening to you guys, is that Baldwin throughout the minor leagues has just hit, yes, and then got to the big leagues and hit. And we watched him at the Futures game, and he was one of those guys who I'd never really heard of, but just popped out immediately, where I was like, whoa, you're way too small to hit the ball that hard and to all different fields, and then goes to the major leagues and is not phased and just hits. That's a guy who I want on my team forever.
Yeah, and I think him being one of the lone bright spots in the 25 Atlanta Braves season could incentivize them to pay him and have him donate 1% of his deal to the Braves Foundation. Could be really good. So that was my Braves Foundation bucket. My other buckets, what?
I just think the Braves Foundation bucket is funny.
It's great. So the Braves Foundation bucket is complete. Now I've got franchise cornerstone bucket, and these are guys where their organization may seem to lack a little direction, and they could signal to their fan base and their organization as a whole that this is the guy they want for the foreseeable future. And I had 3 guys fit into that bucket. Hunter Goodman in Colorado, Mason Wynn in St. Louis, and James Wood in Washington. 3 teams that make you cringe a little bit when you think about their outlook, short-term and long-term. And that would ease a lot of fans, and they would be able to go buy a Wood or a Wynn or a Goodman jersey in Denver, in St. Louis, and Washington.
It's funny. I had Mason Wynn written down. I just didn't put James Wood down because I feel like he is such I'm waiting until I get to free agency, and there's nothing you could really offer me that is going to get me to sign something. Because we're talking about pre-arb deals. The player has to accept it. And I just feel like James Wood is one of those players who's going to be like, do I really want to sign a 9-year deal, capping some of my upside? I was just about to say that he's also a Scott Boras client.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was a Boras client. So there we go. He's off the table.
I just don't think that in Washington, that's what he wants to do. Maybe I'm wrong. And I think it would be great for the Nationals to sign him to a pre-arb deal. I totally understand why you wrote him down. I just think it's unlikely, unfortunately. Yeah. Mason Wynn, if the Cardinals are really rebuilding here, maybe that throws a wrench into those conversations. But he's that perfect player where, it's a good time to sign now. The way people think about him is an elite defender with offensive upside, and he's a really good baseball player. He's just sound in all areas of the game, but he's not like a perennial all-star. Yep. And I think those type of guys, like signing him to these $80, $90 million deals, both make sense for the Cardinals and make sense for Mason Wynn. Even though I'm a Mason Wynn, I really like Mason Wynn. I just don't see like a ton of top end stuff, but I also see a high floor. And that's why I think those guys are perfect for pre-arb deals.
And to your point, there is a chance that he puts together a season with an 80 WRC plus. And I don't think St. Louis is kicking themselves if they give him $20 million in a year where he has an 80 WRC plus, because he could still be a 2.5, 3-win player at that point.
Good base runner, elite defender. And if we get a 120 WRC plus year, you love the deal. If you get a 90, you're still okay with it because he's so good in other areas.
Yeah. My last bucket was pay them before they're superstars officially. And some of these guys might already be superstars, but the guys that fit into my last bucket, Pete Crow Armstrong, Junior Caminero, Yuri Perez, Nick Kurtz. Those were the big four for me. And it's like, if you can get them before they command $300 million deals, go ahead and do that. Can Tampa lock up Caminero on $180 million, $200 million? Possibly. Could the Cubs lock up PCA? At this point, probably not. Could Sacramento lock up Nick Kurtz? I think maybe. You have 5 more years of Kurtz here. So those are the guys that jump out to me where it's like they're right there when it comes to making the leap to superstardom. Get them before they make the leap to superstardom.
The only one I disagree with, and I agree with this comment from Reef Richardson in our YouTube live. Thank you to everybody joining in on YouTube. Make sure to smash that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. I'm in the same bucket as a lot of the people in our comment section right now. PCA is just, there's too many valleys. Now, there's a lot of hills. It's even disrespectful to call them hills. They are Mount Everests. I mean, he was in the MVP conversation with Shohei Ohtani. But then when he's bad, I mean, I get it. The defense is still very, very good. But it's not like a Mason Wynn where I think a low point would be like a 90 WRC plus. PCA was like one of the worst hitters in baseball. Full stop. Strikeout rate in the mid 30%. I mean, this could be a Luis Robert type career where the peak is incredible, but the valleys are unplayable. I don't want to pay that for a long-term deal. I just don't. One name that I would put in is Jacob Wilson, because Jacob Wilson's bat, I feel good about. I think he's going to hit forever. Now, you can look at some underlying metrics and be like, well, he doesn't hit the ball that hard, but he just has special hands. Like some guys come across every once in a while and just outdo the peripherals. I feel so good about him being able to do that consistently. I don't care about the ballpark. He can hit on the road. He can hit at home. He even hits for some power, right? He's not one of these 310 hitters who hits 4 home runs. He can hit some home runs and he can definitely hit some doubles. He's also a good defensive shortstop. I feel safe with his profile. So that was a guy I would also look to extend. With Kurtz, I mean, does Nick Kurtz want to sign a...
Are we already priced out of Nick Kurtz? Like, it's almost the Ellie De La Cruz conversation where you get a year in and you think, are we too late? Gunnar Henderson, too. Are we too late?
Yeah. 2 other names I want to throw at you. One is Colson Montgomery with the Chicago White Sox. I agree. I gave that same face when I was thinking about it because he hit for a ton of power in his debut and it was really, really fun to watch. But a lot of his numbers, you need to hit for power if he's going to put up those consistent numbers. And I think, I'm not saying it was a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Tell me why you gave that face immediately when I said his name.
You don't know what his long-term defensive home is. Is he a third baseman? Is he a shortstop? You really have no idea just yet. And when you are power reliant, what happens if this guy has a back tweak? All of a sudden that year is shot because your power is zapped. There are so many things that can go awry with someone like that. And he had stretches in the minor leagues where it didn't look good. If I'm paying someone this early in their career, they have to be near flawless in the minor leagues. And he had some flaws in the minor leagues. Yeah. Everybody that I brought up was pretty much flawless in the minor leagues.
One other name that I want to bring up that I think instead of a frown, you're going to have a little smiley face. Cam Smith. And the reason I would extend Cam Smith is I would love to buy low on him. Because we can't forget, this guy changes positions, actually gets drafted in 2024, gets immediately traded, find a new home, switch from third base to right field, and he comes up and he handles it beautifully. But as the season progressed, a young guy like him just ran into a wall. And now if you look at the final stats of the year, it's a 90 WRC+. I think he was a 1-win player. On the surface, it doesn't really look like a guy that I would want to buy into. But this guy is a top prospect. There's a reason that he was the cherry on top of the sundae that got the Chicago Cubs Kyle Tucker. This is a guy who I would offer a low pre-arb deal. see if he accepts it. And once he signs on the dotted line, I'm jumping for joy. So it's also balancing like, oh, do we want to buy high on Nick Kurtz and give him $12 trillion because he was just amazing?
Yes.
I would want to hand out kind of. But I would also want to hand out a pre-arb deal to a guy I really, really believe in through his first season. Technically was a disappointment. I don't think he was. I think he ran into a wall. I'd be happy to make Cam Smith a player on my team for the next 7-8 years.
Counterpoint. Cam Smith would not say yes to a pre-arb extension at this point because he knows that he can boost his value and he'd probably be signing a discounted deal.
Agreed. That's why I didn't think he made sense in the argument of like guys we actually think could. I was more bringing those as players who I would offer him that pre-arb deal. Whether he accepts it or not, it is what it is.
I get it. Another Discord question here for us, and this one has to do with trade candidates and their value. This from Ryan. Which trade candidate provides the most true value, taking into account control, production, age, availability, and price? Far and away number one, I think, outside of Schoolball, I just refuse to acknowledge Schoolball as a trade candidate.
I didn't put him on my list either.
I think there are two far and away that jump out to me like I'm moving heaven and earth to go acquire you. Ketel Marte and Joe Ryan. Those are the two that are the prize possessions of the trade market and the trade rumor mill right now for me.
Arizona Diamondbacks fans refuse to allow us to make a post about Ketel Marte potentially getting traded. They will not allow it. And I understand. He's a top 10 hitter in the game. The last thing you want is for him to be moved. But we aren't just pulling these trade rumors out of thin air. Just today, and I quote from John Morosi, the Diamondbacks are actively listening to trade offers for Ketel Marte, and there is at least a 50-50 chance that he will be moved. Clubs who have reached out, Phillies and Blue Jays, I assume there have been more. A 50-50 shot? There is no 50-50 shot for Skubal. There is no 50-50 shot for Paul Skeens. Ketel Marte is absolutely at the top of potential trade candidates. They're actively listening. 50-50 shot. He's already had clubhouse problems. It would make sense to move him if you're the Diamondbacks and you could get, like I offered, Jarren Duran and Peyton Tolley. Keeps you really competitive right now, gets you a young pitcher to build around, and Jarren Duran, who smashes triples. Over the last, I'd have to find the stat, but he's an extra base hit machine. Like, that still makes you a really solid club while getting off of Ketel Marte. So I understand that you don't want to trade him. I wouldn't either. He's a top 10 hitter in the game. But your team is listening, so we got to talk about it.
Yeah. Another one here. What about the rumors of Hunter Green? Again, I don't love these. Like, he almost clumps into the school bunch for me, where I just feel like it makes no sense to move him at this point.
The only trade it makes sense to do it is if they're going to get Ketel Marte.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's a Ketel Marte conversation.
Yeah.
The actively available one, I think, is Joe Ryan. And I'm taking, I laid it out, I'm taking Joe Ryan over Mackenzie Gore for 2026. I'm probably taking him over Mackenzie Gore for 2027 as well. And this is the president of the Mackenzie Gore fan club talking about, actually, newly relegated vice president of the Mackenzie Gore fan club, because Peter is the president.
You're more acting secretary. Like, you're writing notes from the meeting that the real fan club is happening. Because, I mean, you're disrespecting him so much.
I'm not disrespecting him. He just...
You and I both know, you've said it out of your mouth, that you think that this guy has some of the best stuff in baseball. You put him on your mouth, stuff more. And we saw it in the first half. And then in the second half, the Nationals themselves fall off a cliff. And you're like, all right, he's probably going to the ballpark every day, just being like, I think we're an auto loss here. It's hard to get really fired up. And he had a bad second half. I don't care. I want him. I want him bad. And he's in that same bucket for me with Joe Ryan. He's right there.
I'd want him too. And I remember it's burned into my heart, not just my brain, but my heart. You guys laughing at me when I put him on my Mount Stuffmore. So
I don't think I laughed. I think I was like,
no, you and Arm ganged up and laughed, and it hurt.
We ganged up. We all got together and ganged up on you.
It hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's clear-cut Marte and Ryan.
And I think number 3 is Mackenzie Gore. I actually made a top 5. You want to hear my top 5?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so my top 5 trade candidates were number 1, Ketel Marte, number 2, Joe Ryan, number 3, Mackenzie Gore, number 4, Brendan Donovan, and number 5, Pablo Lopez.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? The thing is with Buxton, I want to put
Yeah.
Buxton on my list over Lopez, but I think the only reason Buxton goes is if the Twins have a fire sale. So if we're talking about guys who I think legitimately could get traded versus a lot of things have to happen before you get traded. And even still, you're going to be expensive and you still might not. So that's why I didn't put Buxton on this list, even though I would definitely have him probably in the same range as Donovan. Like
ahead
right
of Donovan. I would have him clearly ahead of Donovan. I think he's probably in the same bucket as Mackenzie Gore there.
Donovan is so cheap. And he's such a good ball player. I love Brendan
Donovan. Cheap. Yeah, he's great. And more on Brendan Donovan a little bit later on in the program. But yeah, I like the Pablo shout too. If I were to tell you that Sonny Gray was available before today, would you go Sonny Gray or Pablo Lopez?
Pablo. I'd rather have him go Sonny. Longer. And with Freddie, like, I'm just a sucker for years of control. I want to control these. I really want that. I think that's extremely valuable, and it's proven through all these trades. But Freddie should absolutely be on there in terms of a talent level for 1 year. I'm taking Freddie over almost everybody on this list, right? Yeah. Outside of Ketel Marte, of course. But it's just 1 year of control. I thought the price might even be a little bit more for Pablo Lopez than it would be for Freddie Peralta, depending on if teams want to take money. That's what I'm not really sure about. But I would rather have Pablo than Sonny Gray.
Years matter. Years totally matter. So
given
the years, I would take Pablo over Sonny Gray.
The question of it's not just who are the best players that could get traded, it's including them as a complete asset, which is years of control, the money, all that stuff. I'd rather have Pablo Lopez than him. The one because I'd rather have Freddie Peralta for 1 year, but I like having Pablo for multiple. That one I think is a toss-up.
Got you. All right, one more Discord question before we get to our social media questions. This one also comes to us from Ryan on Discord, not baseball related. Favorite dish at Thanksgiving and least favorite? Happy Thanksgiving. Love y'all, and thank you for the greatness you guys put out every week. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Favorite. What's your favorite?
So I've been really into this turkey I've been making. And turkey is rarely said by many as their favorite thing at Thanksgiving. But I have a new way of cooking it. It's not new, and I didn't invent it. I watched a YouTube video.
You go deep fryer in the vat?
No.
Start a fire?
Have you ever heard of spatchcocking? It sounds sexual, but it's not.
No, but I've heard that technique. I'm going to Google while you explain.
So basically what you do is you cut out the spine of the turkey, right? So you take out the spine, you use some kitchen shears, put a knife and take out the spine. It's a little bit gross, but figure it out. I figured it out. You can figure it out. You take out the spine. It's really not that hard. It's just kind of gross. You're taking out a spine from an animal.
Sure.
And what that does is after you take out the spine, you flatten the turkey a little bit. Yeah. So when you put it in the oven, it's even heat throughout. You know, when you get a big turkey and it's that huge bird in the middle and then those things, and sometimes the top can get burned. Maybe you can get some uneven cooking. With spatchcocking, it's all on the same level. So it's an even distribution of heat. Plus, it cooks in half the time. You insert it with some butter. You get some seasonings on there. The turkey we've made over the last 2 years, it's just awesome. It has really turned into my favorite using this new method. I love mac and cheese. I love green bean casserole. Not a stuffing guy. A lot of people disagree with that. Not a cranberry guy. A lot of people disagree with that. But if I had to rank, it used to be just a really good mac and cheese. But now I'm telling you, this turkey is so dank. If you spatchcock and you cook it right, it's juicy. It's phenomenal.
I'm going to have to try it. I've also heard it referred to as butterflying. When I just saw a photo, I've seen the butterflied turkey, where you just kind of butterfly the thing open. But so
the problem with that is it's still got that huge, the body of it is still so round that even if you butterfly it, it's still going to be uneven versus this way. You just kind of have everything on the same heat and it cooks in half the time.
Now, do you brush it with something in particular? Like, are you a butter turkey guy? Like, how do you baste it if you spatchcock it?
So, they have these injectors
Yeah.
where, you kinda make a
No, I mean
compound
a
butter.
meat syringe. Yeah, I know what you're
Exactly.
talking about.
Make a compound butter, some sriracha, some honey, some garlic,
Whoa.
inject that thing in. Also, when it's fully spatchcocked, you put some butter, you go in with your hands under the skin
Yeah.
and put some butter in on the inside. But if you're trying to get into like the breasts and the legs and all that kind of stuff, you just inject that honey sriracha compound and you can kind of brush it over the top too. So when it's cooking in the oven, it's sizzling with that butter. It ain't healthy, but damn it, it's good.
That's okay. Sriracha on the Thanksgiving turkey sounds
Sriracha.
unbelievable.
You can't really taste the sriracha, but it just adds it's a level of just heat on the back of your tongue a little bit that just hits so nicely.
God, that fires me up. Okay. My favorite, I think stuffing can be a year-round side.
Yeah, I'm not a stuffing guy. I don't like the texture of it. I'm a huge texture guy, and I don't
It's
like the
just it's
whole
just bread and other junk in there.
Yeah, a lot of people like it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, I like it. I don't dig the cranberry sauce thing. I don't really understand the emotional attachment to it coming straight out of a can and it's still having the form of a can. That doesn't intrigue me too
And it's
much.
also such a dominant flavor profile. Like when you put cranberries on everything, or cranberries on anything, excuse me, you're tasting cranberries.
That's how I feel about guac on the Chipotle bowl. That's why I don't do guac. It
Oh, that's crazy.
overwhelms the dish.
But I want the guac on everything. So that's where but again, if you're a big cranberry person, I understand loving cranberries at Thanksgiving. And if you're not, that's why it is a palate cleanser, like kind of. A palate cleanser is like when you're eating sushi and you get a little piece of ginger or something and it kind of resets everything. Cranberry, I don't know. I get what you mean, but
I also love the
not on my
spelling.
plate. Not
I
on my
love the
plate.
spelling of palate in this
Yeah.
YouTube comment. Palate, palate. Also love this YouTube comment from Greg. My girlfriend is mesmerized by that honey sriracha turkey combo, but that sounds so damn good.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Perfect.
Just tell her where you got it right here on the Just Baseball Show.
All
Baseball,
right, we're
food.
love it. We're gonna go quick through some social media questions in a moment. Let's jump into the Twitter cues, and we're getting back to baseball, but we do end with another Thanksgiving question at the very, very end. This one from @Carter_West11 on Twitter. The Semien-Nimmo trade is the biggest big leaguer for big leaguer trade since ... when? There have been some humongous big leaguers moved for prospect hauls, and I'm thinking big leaguer for big leaguer. Like my mind immediately went to 2 years ago, Pablo Lopez and Luis Ariz. That swap was big, but there were prospects that went to Minnesota as well, along with Pablo for Luis Ariz. So I wiped that one out. I have one answer, and it was 12 years ago. Do you have the same one?
I think we do.
Prince Fielder, Ian Kinsler, straight up.
But the thing is, what was tough because I guess the question was biggest since. So that is absolutely the biggest. And that is also a bigger trade than what we just saw because the Marcus Semien, Brandon Nimmo trade, these are two guys who are a little bit past their prime.
They're good. They're good players on big contracts.
But yeah, it's very, very rare to just see a major league player for a major league player and no prospects attached. So I was even going through it and I was like, this actually isn't like that fun of a deep dive. There's very few to kind of look at.
Yeah, because every other, a good big leaguer went back for this great big leaguer has a prospect attached to it as well. So
exactly.
The only answer that I have for you is Prince Fielder and Ian Kinsler. And Fielder, it was 30 homers. It was 100 driven in his final year in Detroit. He goes to Texas. He eventually has to retire because of the neck issues. And Kinsler was good, and then he was good in Detroit, but then he just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
So... All right, next Twitter question. Also, Austin Hayes for Sir Anthony Dominguez, Erisher? Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes.
Next question we've got for you. This one comes to us from MDeanJD13 on Twitter. Tell us about the first baseball game that you can remember attending. Was it love at first sight, or did the game have to grow on you? Go.
So the first game that I really remember, because the first official game that I ever went to, we took a bus with our school to Dodger Stadium. We watched Dodgers versus Marlins. And I remember being in the stadium, but I was so young. But the one that really kind of shaped my baseball fandom forever, it was the first time, because I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, where I went with my dad to an Oakland A's game versus the New York Yankees game. Right. It's not often that we get to see the Yankees play on the West Coast. So we would always do kind of a yearly trip up to Oakland. And that was the first time. And I was, I think, 9 or 10 years old. And that was a game that went into 12, 13 innings. And I think in the 11th, my 9-year-old, 10-year-old brain was tired. I wanted to go home. I told my dad, can we leave? And he says, are you sure? Because if we leave, we're not going to be able to get back into the stadium. And I say, yes, I'm exhausted. As we're walking out of the stadium, we hear the crowd erupt. Alex Rodriguez hit a go-ahead grand slam against the A's. And I cried. I cried to my father. And I said, I am never leaving a baseball game early ever again. And what that shaped in me was, it ain't over until it's over. That anything can happen. That's why always watching it to the bottom of the ninth. You know, in betting, a lot of people chalk plays early. Like, let's say a team goes down 3-0 and we have their money line. It's like, oh, this game's over. I'm like, no, it ain't. It ain't over until it's over. And that's another reason why I love baseball so much. It's the only game without a clock that going into the top of the ninth inning, a guy like Miguel Rojas can come up and hit a game-tying home run. Yeah. Anything can happen in baseball, and that's one of the million reasons why baseball is the best.
Which is why we went live so damn late sometimes after blowouts, because you were like, I just want to make sure. We couldn't go live in the 7th. You just have to make sure.
Again, you and Arm would be like, I think we can go live now. I think the game is over. I'm like, but what if it's not? Like, I just physically couldn't end a game, even if it's unless it's 11-1 in the 8th.
Sure.
But if it's like 4-2 in the 8th, I'm watching, because anything could happen.
Sure. I had a photo still up in my childhood bedroom of me in a Sammy Sosa onesie on the railing at Wrigley Field with not a foam finger. I think I was just holding up my hand, and it was a Sammy Sosa onesie. But I don't remember that, obviously. I was like 1 year old. I do remember my first game etched into my brain was going to see Ichiro play the White Sox in 2004 or 2005 when he was at the peak of his powers with Seattle. When they played on the south side of Chicago, I remember just being fascinated. Like my pea brain, my forming brain couldn't comprehend how this guy made contact with everything and how he was like that good. Why is everybody obsessed with this guy? Because he's not the biggest one. He's maybe the smallest guy on the field. I was just fascinated by that. So that's like my first lasting memory, is just being enamored with what Ichiro is and why everybody just shut up during an at-bat for Ichiro.
It's a pretty damn good athlete to go see for the first time in your first game that you remember. Like, that's awesome.
I would think so too. All right. Now a food question for us. Again, a non-baseball related question. I did see this pop up in the YouTube comments. I want you to answer this first, because this one is Miami, Chicago based. But a YouTube question. Peter, what food place would you recommend the most in New York City? You had to take somebody to dinner in New York. You have one night with them. Where are you going?
God, that's a good question. I'm going to gear one towards you, because I know you love sushi.
Yeah.
It's a place called Sushi Blossoms. And it's this omakase place. And, you know, they got the Wagyu. They have nigiri. It's some of the best sushi I have ever had. And it's also an incredible atmosphere. Like, you feel like you're sitting in a cloud. Like, great drinks. There's so many good ones. And I think that's why New York City is the food capital of maybe even the world, is when I compare it to Chicago, there's so many out of 10, 8s and 9s and 10s everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you go around the block and it's like, well, that was incredible pizza.
Yeah.
And across the street, it's one of the best delis that you've ever been to. Like, there's so many options. Like, I could tell you, like, best sandwiches. I love this sandwich from Milano Market. I know a lot of people wouldn't consider them that's their best sandwich, but they have this roast beef on a baguette that's just phenomenal.
Have you done the Italy? Have you done the Italy roast beef sandwich or whatever it is?
The Italy, I mean, I've been to Italy a number of times.
Italy has this. I'm blanking on what it was. Is it like a prime rib sandwich or something?
Maybe.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I haven't done that.
Again, there's just so many options. If you're looking for pizza, God, there's so many good ones. Prince Street, Joan Pat's. I love sauce.
Sure.
It's like the name of it is sauce. I could just keep going. There's a million. But if I were telling you, Jack, and I know you love sushi, Sushi Blossoms would be the place where I just think is unreal.
Fair. The question was from Fireball Warrior on Twitter. Best thing you've gotten food-wise since the move to Miami, and food restaurant you miss most from Chicago. This works for us because you experienced my best dish in Miami, and then Chicago is also phenomenal, and this is your stomping ground now. So Chicago, I will start with that. What I miss the most, far and away, is the combo from Mr. Beef. The beef and sausage combo with the hot peppers, just Italian beef, I miss a lot. And then deep dish from Pequod's. Deep dish is not the best pizza you've ever had. It's effectively a lasagna dish with just bread, but Pequod's burns the living crap out of the crust, and it's awesome. And it's nice and like caramelized and everything like that. But Miami, place called KYU in Wynwood, their beef short rib, I think about that sometimes. I never really think about food, but I think about that, and I just think about the next time I could possibly have that. And we did that together, and it was life-changing.
So good. So good. Like if you're ever in Miami, that is an absolute stop. Have you ever been to in Chicago Robert's Pizza?
Not Robert's, no.
That place bangs. I'm not a huge fan of deep dish. I like the taste. It hurts my stomach.
I get it. It's just tomato and cheese, and that's Heartburn City population Peter, I'm sure.
Yeah, it just makes like I want to die after eating it. But when I do, like, it's an incredible. I really enjoy the taste of it, but it's just too much on me. I prefer the tavern style. I really like. I like the crispy crust.
Good tavern style spot in River North that I will find and I will send to you after this.
Perfect.
We've got a couple more Instagram questions here. 2 baseball, 1 non-baseball, and then we'll say see ya and happy Thanksgiving. This one is Brendan Donovan related from @Skylar L. Clifton. Cardinal fan here. There have been a lot of rumors about Brendan Donovan. Who do you see as potential trade partners, and what do you think a realistic package would be? I wrote down every team with a pulse should be a realistic trade partner for Brendan Donovan. There's nothing that this guy can't do for your favorite baseball team.
I have 3 trade proposals with 3 teams that I think it makes sense to go add a Brendan Donovan. And I think it's important to know that if you're trading for Brendan Donovan, what you're getting is just a sound baseball player. Doesn't strike out, takes his walks. You're rarely going to see a bad AB from Brendan Donovan. He's not going to supply a ton of power. It's not the sexiest offensive profile, but when Brendan Donovan is up, you're going to get a good AB. He's going to run through the pitch count. He's going to smack a double. He's going to hit the ball the other way, and he'll even spray some home runs. And on top of it, he's going to play elite second base defense. Now, the one thing about Brendan Donovan that I hear all the time, and I think even I've mentioned this in the past, but the more I've watched him, the more I'm kind of going away from the take, is that he's this ultimate Swiss Army knife, that he's this utility guy that can play so many different positions. He was an average to below average defender in left and a great defensive second baseman last year. When you bring in Brendan Donovan, he can go play left, but you'd prefer to have him as your primary second baseman. So I think when I think Brendan Donovan, I think elite defensive second baseman who's a very, very solid bat. And you're getting him for pretty cheap because he's still in arbitration right now, making about like less than $6 million. And you have him for 4 years, or at least 3 years, and then arbitration. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but he's a really solid player. Not a superstar. I wouldn't even call him a star, but he's a fan favorite in St. Louis for a reason. Just a really, really good baseball player. So I came up with 3 different trades. Before I do, Did you write down a list of names, or you basically just said everybody should trade for him?
Everybody with a pulse. I wrote a couple of names as well. I have 4 teams. Seattle could be a really good fit. I
I
thought
did
Sanford.
not. I did
Yeah,
not have a trade for Seattle, but I could see it, especially if Polanco leaves. But again,
I
they have Cole Young. So are you bringing in a second baseman?
you could bring in Brendan Donovan, ask him to play third, and have Ben Williamson sit on the bench.
Yeah, he just hasn't played a lot of third, but I'm sure he could
He
figure
plays
it
everywhere.
out. Yeah,
He
I'm sure
can
he
he
can
can
figure it
play
out. But
literally everywhere. It just seems like an upgrade from what they had in Dylan Moore for a while.
the reason I didn't include him is because I was like, they don't need a second baseman.
Sure.
But yeah, I get that.
San Francisco is an interesting fit.
Yeah.
I also had Boston and I had Kansas City.
I had Kansas City as well. I also had 2 more names, and I think the most interesting of the other names that I mentioned are the Guardians. The
Yeah.
Guardians have been linked, and I came up with a trade proposal. What do you think about sending St. Louis, Parker Messick, and Juan Brito in exchange for Brendan Donovan? You replace some of that second base with Juan Brito, who came up and did pretty well, but I think his upside is a little bit capped. And Parker Messick, who came up and was brilliant, a young pitcher. That'd be a great piece in that Brendan Donovan trade. Too much, too little, feels right.
There's just no sex appeal in any aspect of that.
That's why those trades tend to happen.
I know. Messick would add to the gluttony of 5 starters that St. Louis has, and I don't know if they feel
Is
like
he
they're
at
getting
5?
tangibly better.
Is
What?
he at 5? I think. He came up and he was
He
an
throws, he
animal.
throws 90 miles an hour.
I mean, yeah. Again, he's not going to blow you away, but you can still be a good pitcher in this league
I think he's a
by
5
not
starter.
throwing gas.
I think he's a 5 starter. At best, I think he's a good 4.
Yeah, I think he's probably I guess I have him as like a middle 3 guy in a rotation where if he started a playoff game for me in a few years, I'd still feel pretty good about it.
I just don't know if there are a lot of worlds where I don't feel good about Parker Messick starting a playoff game for me in a few years. So
Do you think it's not enough?
I
Even though
think
Juan Burrito's a pretty good player too.
it's probably not enough, only because Brendan Donovan has 2 years of arbitration left at $6-ish million and then at $9-ish million. So
Oh yeah, it's a good price.
is Parker Meadows and Parker Messick and Juan Brito enough for 2 years, $15 million for a guy with a 117 WRC plus and a 3 WAR player? I don't think so.
But again, those numbers don't jump off the table. And I'm a Brendan Donovan guy, but a 117 WRC plus and a 3-win player, like you're not trading the world for this guy. And I think Parker Messick is as solid as they come if we're talking about young pitchers.
I think you need more.
Brito,
Yeah, I think if you swapped Messick for Joey Cantillo, I think that gets St. Louis more interested.
A little more upside with Cantillo. Yeah. I could see that being pushed across.
Okay. The only thing about Cleveland is they have Bazana sitting there in AAA, and they are incredibly left-handed.
I know. That's why I was surprised at the Guardians, but they've been linked now in multiple articles. So I was like,
Yeah.
They clearly want him for something. Maybe it's not to play second base. Maybe it's to play a different position. But if they're linked, I'm creating mocks.
It's interesting. What else?
The Royals, I think it was a good one. The trade package that I proposed, Ryan Bergert and Blake Mitchell.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
send it in, Jerome.
Blake Mitchell is a big-time prospect, but he's coming off a pretty down season. I mean, I checked the numbers. You would know more about the context to those numbers than me. But a 710 OPS when you already have Carter Jensen as like your catcher of the future. I know it's important to keep these guys. I get it. But if you're bringing in Brendan Donovan and the Royals actually absolutely have a need for a second baseman and also a guy just to get on base in front of Bobby Witt Jr., like this is the perfect guy. You go lefty, righty, Brendan Donovan, then Bobby Witt Jr. at the front of the lineup. Like, and then you have Carter Jensen and you have other guys in the lineup who will, Jack Haglione, you can hopefully bang. Bergert was traded from San Diego to Kansas City. and put up a really solid campaign with the Royals. Right? He's 25, 26 years old. He's got a walk problem, but he's still someone you can buy into. And then Blake Mitchell, you hope he kind of rebounds from this season and regains that high prospect pedigree that he had. I really like this deal.
Mitchell was pretty hurt this year. He also had a 390 OBP. He's a good defensive catcher as well. There's a lot to like with Blake Mitchell, and I feel like St. Louis would welcome a catcher prospect in with open arms because they are trying to figure out exactly what goes on at the catching position. They felt like they had an answer in Wilson Contreras. He plays first base now. They felt like they had an answer in Ivan Herrera. He plays DH / kind of left field now. So they need somebody that can catch for the foreseeable future. And why can't Blake Mitchell be that guy for St. Louis? I love that deal.
Last one, the Yankees are linked to Brendan Donovan. And I think the idea would be moving Jazz Chisholm back over to third base and having Brendan Donovan be your second baseman and then just kind of like dealing with Ryan McMahon after that trade.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me. Like if the Yankees really want to go for it, and Hal Steinbrenner came out and he says the Yankees aren't making any profits and he wants to lower the payroll, which I almost like physically crashed out. I'm so glad it wasn't on the podcast the next day. I'm fine now, but I got so pissed because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But regardless, Brendan Donovan, very cheap, and all you have to give up are prospects. So I thought, give him Will Warren. Will Warren's still coming off 166 innings this year. It's hard for a pitcher to, maintain a really solid ERA, but he's clearly got good stuff. It's just about being consistent. And I think that would be a good arm sent over to the Cardinals way. Why are you laughing?
Hard for a pitcher to maintain a solid ERA. I love how you're spinning
first
this.
Year, 166 innings.
Yeah, no, keep
it's
going.
True.
Yeah,
nothing I said.
It's so hard for a guy to be good all the time when he throws that much.
All right, maybe I didn't phrase that correctly. And then I'll throw him Thatcher Hurd. Unarmed top 10 Yankees prospects. He was number 11 with a couple guys graduating, so he'd likely be a top 10 Yankees prospect. Got a lot of upside as pitcher. And Will Warren. Pretty sizable package. Now, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm taking that Royals package. But those would be my three best locations based on Googling Brendan Donovan trade rumors and seeing those three teams come up more consistently than any others.
Yeah. Also, Missouri, the craziest state to have two Major League Baseball teams.
Crazy.
The states with two Major League Baseball teams, two or more, California, New York, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and I think Missouri, and that's it.
Yeah. Kansas City, Missouri, and
St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. He could stay in Missouri. That's interesting. Okay. Two more questions here. Let's go to a free agent question. This one on Instagram comes to us from @Caden Jasani. Which team will make their franchise's biggest free agent signing this offseason? Biggest free agent deals in the history of these franchises. I wrote them down. I wrote down the teams that I think will, pass up what they have done previously. The clear-cut one is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Do you have these written down? Do you know who the largest free agent signing in franchise history is?
Francisco Liriano.
Francisco Liriano at 3 for $39 million in 2015.
What a joke.
I think they passed that up. They are clearly inclined to pass that up in terms of total money allocated. This is not extension. So Brian Reynolds got $108 million, but the largest free agent deal that they have ever inked someone to is Liriano at 3 for $39.
Hot take. No, they don't. They're in these rumors. And then did you see a recent article in The Athletic? It was like they never actually offered that Naylor deal.
Yeah, but they were thinking about it.
I think they're just posturing. They're not going to do anything. And I hate to say it. I hope they do. They absolutely have the rotation. I'm not just saying, I don't care about the Pirates. They're not going to do anything. They absolutely should. You have Paul Skeens at the top of the rotation. You got Bubba Chandler. You got Mitch Keller. You got a real core of good young pitching. There's a slew of other names I haven't even mentioned, like Braxton Ashcraft and a number of others. They should absolutely be adding to this offense. I have zero faith that they actually do so. Sorry. No, so, yes, they have a really low, biggest free agent ever. I don't think they top it. Another one that I don't think gets topped, the Reds. Biggest free agent is Nick Castellanos and Mike Moustakas, who both signed 4 years, $64 million. I do not think they top it either.
No, I
As
don't think
horrible as
so.
that sounds, because I want the Reds to suspend, but I don't think they'll be doing it.
I don't think so. A couple other teams that I want to throw your way. Does Atlanta top BJ Upton 5 for $75.25 million in 2013?
Absolutely not. Everyone keeps including Atlanta in these free agent proposals. Why?
Okay.
No proof. Zero. Yeah, it makes sense because they're good and we want them to. I have to be proven wrong. I'm just going to continue to say teams like the Cubs, teams like the Red Sox, teams like the Braves, these big markets who actually refuse to spend, we throw them in every rumor just because they're big markets and they should, and they never actually do it. So
No.
will they be active in the trade market? Absolutely. Will they make some under the radar type moves that make you think? Absolutely. Are they going to top their biggest free agent deal? No, especially with an impending lockout.
Do the A's top Luis Severino 3 for $67 million that he signed last year?
Nope.
Okay.
They ain't spending more money either. They got to save it for the $1 trillion extension you want to give Nick Kurtz.
Sure. The only other one I had written down, the Blue Jays feel like they're going to top their previous best, and that was George Springer at 6 years and $150 million.
They are one of two teams to actually answer this question. The Blue Jays topping that George Springer deal for 6 years, $150 million. And the Giants, I mean, that Willy Adames deal for 7 years, $182 was the biggest that they've ever spent. They tried to give Correa $300 million. They tried to give Judge $400 million. They clearly have a ton of money. So I think those two teams are going to be at the forefront of the Dylan Cease conversations, of the Kyle Tucker conversations, depending on Tatsuya Imai's contract builds and builds and builds. Maybe we get more information and the price starts going up and he's able to get $200 million. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. Just Fromber come out and they say, oh yeah, he's actually like totally fine. We want to give him $180 million. Maybe that is the case, but those two teams, especially the Blue Jays with Tucker and I think the Giants with Dylan Cease, I think both of them can legitimately break the largest contract they've ever given out.
How about that? There was also, I was trying to figure out what Baltimore's deal was. It seemed like their largest free agent contract was bringing back Chris Davis.
Yeah.
It wasn't an extension. He hit the open market and then he effectively signed as a free agent, 7 for 161. I don't think they topped that.
No shot.
But if you were looking at a guy that wasn't previously an Oriole, they will blow past whatever that was.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm like, maybe. I mean, we're just assuming that the Orioles, we do this every offseason. Just assume. They never prove it. So I'm not like, maybe they'll get Tyler O'Neill and that'll be a huge move. The equivalent of that.
Bada bang. Last question for you. This one comes to us from Rafe Richardson, who's been hanging out here, but he was also hanging out on Instagram. Simple. Worst Thanksgiving traditions. What do you got?
Worst Thanksgiving traditions?
I've got 3.
Go ahead.
Turkey trots. I understand the idea of running in the morning, but like,
oh yeah, screw that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's never been a tradition of my house.
We're not on Sports Grid today, so you can say it, but like,
fuck that. I'm never doing the turkey trot. No shot. No.
Turkey trots are brutal. Yeah.
Brutal.
Number 2, why does it have to be the earliest dinner of the year, far and away? There are people that eat Thanksgiving dinner at like 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon.
I'm one of those people who eats.
Do you like that?
I do. I think it's kind of perfect because I'm so hungry leading up. I absolutely go crazy and I'm pretty much good for the rest of the night. Feels good to me. Like, it's just like, this is the meal.
Yeah. Rafe, we're answering your question here. I grew up in a turkey trot family. First tradition I changed once becoming an adult. That's perfect.
Absolutely the case. And this one, why do we have to watch the Detroit Lions?
So,
what are you talking about? The Lions are legit now.
But that was my 3rd. Why are we always force-fed the Cowboys and the Lions? Like, why can't we watch Bears Eagles on Thursday instead of Friday?
It's a tradition. I'm fine with it. I mean, the Cowboys normally lose on Thanksgiving. So if you're a Cowboys hater, like, you genuinely get to enjoy that. And then the Lions, now they're good. I do not want them taken off Thanksgiving football. The Lions are one of the more entertaining teams to watch in sports right now. Yeah. So that's one who I absolutely want on Thanksgiving. And I do enjoy watching the Cowboys lose. I'm sorry, I do.
Fair. That was our mailbag. Is Jahmyr Gibbs number 1 in terms of your watch list right now? He's amazing to watch. Bijan's up there for me.
Well, it's the quarterbacks. I mean, I will always love Patrick Mahomes. There is no athlete that has ever made me more money than Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen, Lamar
The
Jackson.
level of enjoyment I get from watching Lamar Jackson is
Yeah,
pretty unparalleled.
those three. And then, I love some skill position guys. We could talk about that at a later time because I could just go forever.
Yeah, fair. That was our show, folks. Hope you enjoyed Thanksgiving. This was the last time you'll hear from us this week. We will have another show hit your audio feeds, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, a little bit later on in the week. We did 4 more free agent previews with Ryan Finkelstein. So those videos will be on YouTube, as well as a bonus episode on Apple Pod and Spotify. So enjoy. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay responsible on Blackout Wednesday. I'd recommend not doing what the day is named after. Whatever. Have fun flying to Utica, man.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And hopefully everybody who enjoyed the show, thank you everybody for joining us on YouTube. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and smash the like button and comment down below any of the takes you agree or disagree with. If you're listening to us on audio, again, have a great Thanksgiving. And if you could, just before you leave, rate us 5 stars, whether it be, again, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And if you would be so kind as to leave a written review. If you want to join the Discord, best baseball group chat in the world, we do live mailbags in there. We're answering your questions as you ask them. And of course, the Discord does get a little bit ahead in asking questions for this mailbag. Make sure to use the link in the episode description and make sure to go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. We got sweatshirts. We got everything to keep you warm throughout the winter months. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. Happy Thanksgiving. And with that, thank you, everybody.